Good afternoon, it's 2 p.m. Thank you so much for joining us right here on The States. This is where we discuss issues boiling down to national development. It concerns you and I. And so if you are behind your television set, this is the place you need to be. We say thank you to Christian Service University. When we come back from the break, we'll introduce our guest and our topic for the afternoon.
The Christian Service University, a fully chartered private university in Ghana, is inviting applications for admission. Undergraduate programs include BSc Nursing and Midwifery, Computer Science, Information Technology, Bachelor of Business Administration, BA Communication Studies, Planning and Social Development, and Theology with Administration. Postgraduate programs include MSc in Accounting and Finance, Monitoring and Evaluation, Corporate Planning and Governance. We have MA MPhil Communication Studies, MA Christian Ministry with Management, Event Management, MPhil English and Mathematics Education. With quality, faculty and state-of-the-art facilities, we blend academic work with entrepreneurial mindset in all our programs. For more information, please call 0246-275375, 0240-154825 or 0244-596603 or visit our website www.csuc.edu.gh. CSU is located at Odenaho Kwadaso on the Kumasi Obuasi Road, 100 meters off Star Junction. Choose CSU today to secure the future of Africa.
And to make him better known. That's
We say thank you to Christian Service University. Thank you so much as well for joining us on The State. And now, 1 in every 10 adolescent girls aged between 10 and 19 had sexual intercourse before turning 15 as of 2022. That is a study from the Ghana Statistical Service, and that is what it has established. Now, when you look at the district level, you realize that some districts in the Ashanti region, especially the Krofrom, the Amansi South, that's Amansi Central, and others were topping that chart. And so this is what we intend discussing into details. But today's topic is the Demographic and Health Survey, weighing in on the findings and adolescent risky behaviors. We've been joined by Dr. Peter 𝗟𝗜𝗙𝗘, who is the Director of Standards and Methods at the Ghana Statistical Service. And so this gentleman is going to help us understand what the demographics is, what went into it, the intent, and of course the possible outcomes of that particular survey that was done. And so, good afternoon, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon.
Okay. Now let's move straight to this. What is the Demographic and then the Health Survey?
Yeah, Demographic and Health Survey is one of the routine nationwide surveys that Ghana Statistical Service conducts in collaboration with the Ghana Health Service Ministry of Health, and usually assisted by the USAID. And it is a project that looks at reproductive health issues for women and children.
Okay.
Of course, nowadays we capture information about men. We don't single out.
Why
previously, it was just women because of the contest reproduction, but a woman cannot get pregnant without
by herself.
Yeah, a man. So it has been expanded to cater for the men in the age bracket 15 to 49, and for the 15 to 59. But for the women, it's from 15 to 49. That's women in the reproductive age bracket. But of course, you and I know that by classification, those 15 to 19 are more of what? Adolescents, and they are expected to be in school. So once they are in that bracket, then there is a need to think through if you can focus on that group and look at what is happening, the dynamics among their sexual behavior.
So why did you put a cap on the women's age to 49 and then the men to rather 59?
You know, mostly you realize that a woman at the age of 49 is ending childbearing.
Okay.
Or is getting to menopause or has already had menopause.
But men also have andropause.
Yeah, but men, even or nowadays, you hear that a man of about 60, 70 has got a child.
Okay.
And we men also mostly marry younger women. So if you want to know the sexual behavior of a man, and not just that, even we look at decision making,
okay,
negotiation for sex, safe sex. For instance, if a woman meets somebody and you want to have sex with the person, if the person is of almost at your age, sometimes, well, research has shown that women have confidence to even negotiate for the use of condom or safe sex. Whereas if the person is older, sometimes women find it difficult to negotiate. It could be due to so many factors.
okay.
And research has shown that mostly those who have closer age brackets usually negotiate or have the confidence to negotiate, whereas those with wider gap. So all these things are contributing factors why the bracket for males is wider than that of females.
So today our focus is on the adolescent girl or the adolescent child. With all that you said, the negotiation aspects and all that, do these young adults, are they able to, you know, also negotiate their own terms, per your survey?
Some, but
okay,
generally you could see that sometimes they don't have the confidence, or depending on the circumstances surrounding it before they get into it. If somebody entices you with money, and of course you are not a prostitute, you may be shy or you may be doing it against your will, but the person might be pushing. So sitting down with someone to talk about sex, the implications and other things, whether the girl will say, I'm not safe and therefore let's use condoms. Sometimes they don't get the atmosphere to talk about it. And by the time you realize, you finished. Yeah.
Okay, now let's look at the scope of this latest demographic and then the health survey you've done. What is the scope of this?
Okay, let me build it up from the main demographic and health survey.
Okay.
Demographic and health survey is, I would say, nationwide survey. So at the end of the day, you can, or we report figures at the national level. We report on all the 16 regions we have in the country. Okay. We can also disaggregate it into urban, rural. There is the limit we can go when it comes to the national demographic and health survey. But for this work that we did recently and disseminated just last week, we have something we call small area estimates.
Okay.
It's another analytical procedure that one can adopt to get to a lower level. And you and I know that in Ghana we have 261 districts. Yeah. So at the national level, sometimes you realize that the figures are reported at the regional level or at the national level. So sometimes if there's something bad, somebody will say, oh, it doesn't concern me. Or even putting in measures to intervene is also a bit difficult. So we capitalize on this small area estimate.
Is it because they are not in very active settings, like they are not in the cities?
No, not that. You wouldn't know where they are if cases are reported at the national level.
Okay.
If I say maybe adolescents involved in sexual encounter in Greater Accra is maybe 12%. Where in Greater Accra? If I say that of Ashanti region is 21%, where in Ashanti region? So to direct policymakers to target their programs, education, awareness creation, and to support the MDAs, we decided to lower the analysis to the district levels.
Okay.
And then have a scorecard, or someone will say a league table for you to have an idea how the situation is. For instance, in our dissemination, we said top 10 districts with higher cases and bottom 10 with the case or with the cases. All these things are to help guide policymakers if they want to draw programs to intervene, how they can target it, where they can go. And you could see that the districts are in regions, but some cultural values also could play critical role in the prevalence of these cases or having higher percentages of these cases. So if you are going to develop a strategy to educate the youth, you know what strategy to adopt, where you can get them.
Because you're going to factor in some of
exactly. Now you know where they are. Yeah. So that compelled us to go down to the district level. So you hear that for the first time, with reference to demographic and health survey, we've gone down to the district level. We did it by combining data from the demographic and health survey and the 2021 population and housing census, because the census is all over the country. It cuts across every district, every locality, or every settlement, rural settlement, and every. So
while doing the census, you were doing this alongside?
No. The census has been was completed. Demographic and health survey also was completed. But mind you, this sexual behavior, or let me say behavioral issues, do not change drastically in a day or two. It takes some time. So we realized that with the data we collected from 2022 demographic and health survey, if you, technically one would say, if you triangulate it, if you put it together with that of the census, you can make something meaningful out of it to guide policy interventions or education. So
now, you keep using figures in these demographic and then health survey, or all the surveys that you do. Has there been a point in time where you've had a survey done, let's say 2022 and
65? It tells you that 35% of women some years back were not delivering in health facilities. And you know, there is a policy in the health sector encouraging women to deliver in a health facility. Once you deliver in a health facility,
you're recorded.
Health experts will handle the delivery. The nurses, the midwives, the doctors, when the complications sets in. So the earlier one was to encourage them to utilize antenatal healthcare services. As you utilize it, they will be counseling you, they will be educating you to know the importance. So these are some of the, So at least I'm citing it as an example that some years back it was low. As we keep on doing it, the recent one has given us something around 86%. We capture information on immunization of children. Some years back it was down. As they put in the programs and educate the general public, encouraging women to utilize the services, there is the need to monitor what they have done, whether it's really having impact on the population or not. And these surveys are used to assess the level of impact. And again, put in measures in a situation where there is something that requires attention to ensure that we improve upon our lives.
So with this current report on adolescent, previously, what was the figures like? And this time around in 2022, after your survey, what is the trend? Is it declining? Is it on the rise?
It varies. But as I initially mentioned, human behavior is difficult to control within a short time. So you see that it's fluctuating from region to the other. In 2022 demographic and health survey, we got to know that ladies or girls in the age bracket 15 to 19 that we classify as adolescents, about 15.2 had sex and got pregnant. So those in 15 to 19. About 15% got pregnant. Out of that, about 4% had termination of the pregnancy, either through miscarriage, either through miscarriage or abortion. Now the abortion part, whether they did it using the recommended method or not. No one knows. But there was a question in there that abortion cases, how they managed it.
Okay.
Of course, reasonable percentage used the recommended, either using a medication from the authorized system or utilize the health facility. But of course, some also use the crude way. But even using the medicine, was it prescribed by a medical doctor or a health practitioner, or a friend mentioned it and you went to buy? So all these things are there. Whether it's going up or down, as I said, by the trend, the behavior is almost the same over time. But now it's getting out of hands because of other factors.
Okay. Now, what were the key findings you had? Because the survey also indicated that some of the districts, especially in some parts of the Ashanti region, had the highest, the first 10 were from some districts in the Ashanti region.
Yeah, you remember we said we were looking at two key indicators. Under 16, that's getting involved in sexual activities before age 16. And the second one is being in the age bracket 15 to 19 and having multiple sexual partners 12 months before the data collection. Yeah, having multiple sexual partners simply means either within the 12 months you had sexual encounter in a serial manner, meaning maybe you were with a guy, it ended, then later you had another person, after some time it ended, and so on and so forth.
So in the space of 1 year?
In the 12 months, yeah, 1 year. And the other side is a situation where you are handling 2, 3 or more guys concurrently.
Okay.
So both are classified as having multiple sexual partners within 12 months before the data collection. And then the first one, which is having a sexual encounter with somebody before the age of 16, which is also against the law, because the law says no one should have sex below age 16. The other side of it is who even had sex with a person. That one, the study didn't bring that one out.
Okay.
But at least.
But do you have plans of in the future where you would ask these questions?
We can have, if depending on the focus. Are you going to get those guys and prosecute them or reprehend them, or you are giving out an information for targeting and maybe education? So it depends on and what the stakeholders will be interested in. You don't just get up and do the survey. As I mentioned, we collaborated with Ghana Health Service, USAID. We have other health institutions, NGOs, CSOs, who are all utilizing the data, the UNFPA. So we come together, we set up steering committee and deliberate on topics we think will be needed. And all these topics also mostly feed into the SDGs.
Sustainable
Development Goals. Exactly. So either feeding into local indicators or international to track performance of Ghana, and can be compared to other countries also. All
right. So let's go on with the key findings.
Well, the key findings, you know, as I said, it's a study we did for both male and females. With regards to the females, it came out that for those, let me look at the underage, I think I came with. Okay, first of all, let me talk about those with multiple sexual partners. Sure. We realized we scored the 261 districts. And for the multiple sexual partners, we realized that the figures ranges between 38.7 and then up to 9.4. And the 38.7, 37.7, the first two are in Bono region. That's Doma East and Doma Central Municipal.
Okay.
We also have some in Western North. That's BBN Municipal, Sefi also Municipal. Then back to 5 and 6, Brekum East Municipal, Brekum West. So the Brekums are still in Bono. And the next one, Jaboso, Western North. So you could see that the first 10 are districts within Bono and Western North.
So the figure you mentioned, the 37 point...
37, 38.7, 37.
Are you saying that these are the number of children in that district?
No.
Who are engaged in that?
It's telling us that if you take 10 girls in that age bracket, about
the
4...
age brackets in that district?
Yeah, yes, okay. 15 to 19. About 4 engage in multiple sexual encounter.
Okay.
Within 12 months.
Okay.
Normally, when we put it in percentages like that, it looks so huge. But it tells you that if you reduce it to the number 10, if you pick 10 from the district, about 4 of them have engaged in sexual encounter. And it runs through the bottom 10 also. The bottom 10, you could see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Almost the bottom 10 are all in the northern part of the country. And for instance, Karaga is 9.4. It tells you that every 10, 1 is likely to have engaged in multiple sexual partners. So we have the score sheet here running through all the districts, but we also managed to link it to the region. So one could see that this district is in this region. Yeah.
Now I'm so fascinated about this particular survey. I keep asking myself, what kind of questions do you ask these young girls for you to get the desired answer, for them to be able to tell you the truth?
Okay. As I said, this is not a survey that we did as a standalone targeting the youth.
Okay.
It is demographic and health survey looking at females 15 to 49.
Okay.
And we ask questions cutting across your reproductive, or let me say sexual behavior across board. Assuming we've asked you a question about having a partner, maybe the answer is yes.
So how are you going to ask that question?
You know, we have question about marital status.
Okay.
If you are married, then of course that one cannot be ruled out. We have questions whether you've ever had a sexual encounter with any man. If the answer is yes, the follow-up question could be, when was the last time you had a sexual encounter with a man?
Okay.
You can say that maybe 3 months ago, or last week, or even just this morning. During that encounter, because we have already determined whether the person is your husband or not. During that encounter, was maybe a condom use? Because we have questions on HIV and sexually transmitted infections. Then the answer will come. Assuming the condom was not used, we can move on further to ask questions about whether you've ever been pregnant. Okay? If yes, or first of all, whether you have a child, or within the past 12 months, have you been pregnant? There are so many questions. In fact, DHS has about 400 or so questions for the females. So when we are engaging you, we try our best for women to interview women.
But do you do this in person?
Yes, face-to-face interview.
Okay. And for the young girls, I mean, asking question or putting a question across to a 15-year-old or a 16-year-old, during that period they're a bit shy and all that. How do you get the best out of that person? And do they shy away from the question? Do they try to,
we have so many questions at the interim before you get there. And first of all, because the person is not up to the age of 18, we seek consent from the parents. And most often, if the mother, or if the parents, let me put it that way, if the mother is in the age bracket up to 49, 15 to 49, definitely you interview the mother so she'll get to know all the questions. And as I said, we have questions about our sexual behavior, if the person has delivered We have questions about childbearing. We have questions about the utilization of ANC, that's antenatal health care. We have questions about delivery, the utilization of health facilities and other things. We have questions on, as I said, sexually transmitted infections, children. So you see that the questions are very comprehensive, and it's not just targeting sex. So when you get there, you might have asked so many questions, and the person will be comfortable to provide answers to everything. But we ensure that the conversation is always between you and the interviewer.
So your mother doesn't get to listen?
No.
And you don't tell the parents also what you found out?
No, we swear the oath of secrecy before you go to the field.
Okay.
Things that you tell me, I can't tell your husband.
Wow.
So things that we even ask women apart from your husband, have you slept with any other man within the past 12 months? And then in your lifetime, how many men have you slept with? The same way, that question is posed to the men.
Okay.
So assuming your husband tells me, oh, I had 2 girls I had an encounter with 12 months ago, and I tell you, what am I creating in the family?
There'll be chaos.
Exactly.
Okay.
So confidentiality is key when it comes to the interview. In fact, almost all interviews in GSS, you don't discuss the responses with a third person, more especially private aspects. Confidentiality is key.
Now, on specific issues concerning adolescents' risky behaviors, what were your findings?
Yeah, it cuts across so many areas, but as I mentioned, these 2 key indicators were what this one centered on. And the reason is there is the need to look at the risky aspect of it, the implications on the youth. For instance, if you look at that of the men or the males, we realize that it's a common practice in Eastern region.
Okay.
The Krobo area, you could see that a lot of guys had sex before age 16. Upper Menya Krobo, Etiwa West, Eastern West, Akim. So you could see that the first 10 are all from
the Eastern region.
Yes. With regards to multiple sexual partners, the highest was recorded in Guan, in the Oti region. Yeah.
Okay.
And then in Kwant, I think the first 5 districts are coming from the Oti region, in the range of 36 and 34.
Okay.
Okay.
So that one to 4 out of 10.
Yes, sort of.
Okay.
Now the question is, if you try to compare these districts on the males to that of the females,
Okay.
maybe you can do further matching and further interrogation, because the findings we shared, you could see that with multiple sexual partners, majority are coming from these districts that I've mentioned. Okay. But on the side of the females, the percentage is low. So the question is, who are they engaging that sexual encounter with? It doesn't mean that the girls, they are not doing it. Because, as I said, the lowest among the females is even 9.4. So it tells you that all the districts in the country have cases. But the question I posed earlier is, if the number of young guys
doesn't tally. So who are they doing?
Yes.
So
are they targeting few girls
or people who are not within their age bracket?
Exactly. So this is a question we can further ask ourselves, or we can look at the data and probe further. Sometimes findings like these enable you to do further research.
So the research doesn't end after these findings?
No. As we discuss, other things may come to mind, or some questions may be asked, of which you may not have immediate response to. Definitely, you have to go back to the data set, do further analysis if it is needed by a body to do some, or to plan for some interventions. We also leave it open also for some students use it for further research, some institutions use it. So Statistical Service, as we all know, is an institution that has been mandated to carry out nationwide surveys. So we do the survey, we get the results out there to guide policy. But if an individual or research board, any research body would like to carry out further research, they can fall on our data set and use it. It's free. You can use the data set for any research you want. Just let us know that you need the data for your research work.
Okay, now let's look at some of the risky behaviors you were able to unearth in these young adults.
Yeah, the risky behaviors have been mentioned, but I would say let's look at the consequences, what could happen as a result of that. Some of them end up getting pregnant. One would say unwanted or unplanned pregnancy. If you get it, you have two options, either to abort it or to deliver. If you deliver, is your mother, your parents ready to support you? Are they ready to support you? Or the guy who got you impregnated, is he working? Is he in a position economically viable or economically sound to support you? That's one thing. So you realize that most of these girls get pregnant when they are not ready for it. At the age of 16, 15, most often you realize that the health aspects have made us aware that the girl is likely not to be fully developed in terms of her reproductive system. Therefore, it has implications. You can have STIs. You can even have, we call this human papilloma virus infections that could lead to cervical cancer if it is not well treated.
Okay.
Yeah. Some out of this situation get so frustrated and depression could set in. Some end up ending their education if they are in school. And they also expose themselves to having more children. Why am I saying that? If you start giving birth at the age of 15, 16, 17, and the reproductive age bracket, or women are fertile up to the age of roughly 49,
the
tendency of having, if you don't rely on family planning, and if you are giving birth to so many children also, and you don't have the support, economic support, we know the implications.
Okay.
So there are so many implications that, or the consequences that these young girls also go through, which we need to pay attention to.
Now, some of the sexual behaviors would have to do with abuse. Did you ask questions surrounding that?
Not from the demographic and health survey, but not the quantitative side, but we did a qualitative research work on this DHS, focusing on just two regions, Northern region and Ashanti region.
Okay.
And we tried to figure out from the respondents how they got into their first sexual encounter, what motivated that.
And so if they are below 16, then it means that it's an abuse. So what do you do with this?
You will not classify it as abuse. It becomes abuse when an older person forces you to do it.
Okay, but that is also defilement.
You can, so if you bring in the law, you can talk about that.
Okay.
But as I indicated, we are mandated to conduct surveys to bring out some of these things. Okay? So if we've done research and this is the situation in the country, then the law agencies can pick it up. But again, for this survey, we don't declare the identity of the person. So you can't say that this person got pregnant before age 16, so go and arrest the person. Rather, if the person reports that somebody has raped her, or if the person reports to the parents that this person has forced me for sex or has slept with me, then parents can then bring in the legal issues.
Oh, Doc, there could be instances where the parents would not like to tarnish the image of that family. And so we don't want to drag this issue. Let's make it a home thing. Let's come talk about it. And so in this instance, when you go out to do your own survey and you get these things, what is the collaboration between your institution and DOFSO, your collaboration between your institution and the Ghana Police Service and all other relevant institutions, especially the Ghana Health Service, so that these children will go back and get the needed health care they need?
This, as I indicated, is the demographic and health survey. We've done a survey before, which is domestic violence. Domestic violence looks at 4 broad areas: economic, social, physical, and sexual.
Okay.
That one, we did it in collaboration with DOFSU or the police, SHRAJ, and other bodies. And in such situations, we also had a counseling unit that in case somebody is going through abuse, the person can channel her grievances towards that. But when it comes to demographic and health survey, we are not supposed to report such issues to the police. Yes. Okay.
Let's go for a quick 10. We'll be back shortly.
Okay.
The Christian Service University, a fully chartered private university in Ghana, is inviting applications for admission. Undergraduate programs include BSc Nursing and Midwifery, Computer Science, Information Technology, Bachelor of Business Administration, BA Communication Studies, Planning and Social Development, and Theology with Administration. Postgraduate programs include MSc in Accounting and Finance, Monitoring and Evaluation, Corporate Planning and Governance. We have MA MPhil Communication Studies, MA Christian Ministry with Management, Event Management, MPhil English and Mathematics Education. With quality faculty and state-of-the-art facilities, we blend academic work with entrepreneurial mindset in all our programs. For more information, please call 0246 275375, 0240-154825, or 0244-596603, or visit our website www.csuc.edu.gh. CSU is located at Odenaho Kwadaso on the Kumasi Obuasi Road, 100 meters off Star Junction. Choose CSU today to secure the future of Africa.
And to make him better known.
This is the time, no more delay. Yes, yes, yes. I'm so excited. This is the time. No more delay. Call a friend to call another that it is time for the young people to connect right here on WTV. Welcome to Y Connect, where we connect youth to Christ. The future is here.
Thank you for joining us again. You're watching The State. We've been talking about the demographic and health survey. We're weighing in on some of the findings and the risky adolescent behaviors one can think of. And Dr. Peter 𝗟𝗑𝗓, who is the Director of Standards and Methods at the Ghana Statistical Service, has been speaking with us on a number of issues. Now, Doc, if you look at the reports that came out, you mentioned, or some of the STIs have been mentioned, especially HIV, stating that about the ages of 10 and 19, 6% of these group of people had HIV. So the prevalence level from there is high. How did you come by this figure?
All right, thank you very much. This figure that was quoted during the dissemination It's not from the Demographic and Health Survey.
Okay.
It was part of the background information we provided about sexual adolescent risky sexual behavior. And this figure is from the Ghana AIDS Commission report, which they turned out in 2022. And we got to know that the population, the total population in Ghana, those with HIV, about 6% falls in this adolescent age bracket. And we also got to know that out of the cases, the new cases that Ghana AIDS Commission, normally they work with the National AIDS Control Program. They record new cases every year.
Okay.
And the new cases that they recorded, about 1,200 and something, was
new cases each
yes. They record new cases.
Wow.
And it's easy to get the new cases, even through antenatal healthcare if a woman is pregnant.
And so how about those who don't go for antenatal services?
That one, they are missed, but they have another way of capturing
Getting
that.
that.
Yeah, and now they are also encouraging voluntary testing, self-testing. They have
the
the
test
kits.
kits and all.
Yeah, definitely once you test positive, they will, and you get a confidence to approach them, they will put you on antiretroviral drugs. So they have so many avenues to get the new cases and ensure that they are given treatment early to control the immune system to sustain it so that they can live longer. So the findings from the Ghana AIDS Commission report gave us that figure. It's not from Demographic and Health Survey, but it was also something that was to give us, the general public, about if we don't intervene, the likely consequences in the long run can have on the general population. Yeah.
How would you describe this particular survey, the 2022 survey?
The 2022, that's the Demographic and Health Survey?
Yes, this particular
Oh, this particular one?
Yeah, how would you describe it?
Okay, this is not a survey that we went to the ground to collect data from the households or from the individuals, as I initially mentioned. It's something that we extracted from the bigger population, which is the 15 to 49, from the Demographic and Health Survey.
Okay.
And as I said, we triangulated it with that of the 2021 Population and Housing Census data for each district, of which we managed to get the lower level data. One would say granular data, but these are all statistical jargons.
Okay.
So they are data that, or the results, statistics that we produce from the bigger data sets.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's how you describe it.
Yeah.
And the findings?
The findings were derived from that. Yeah.
Now,
And-
what? Okay, so continue.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so what will be the interventions as you are a state institution? What will be your interventions? What would you suggest to whoever that demands this, and what policies can we put in place to help us curb this, either to bring the numbers down or to eradicate that problem?
In fact, this is a clarion call for everyone. So turning out findings like this help Ghana Health Service to strategize, put in measures that can accommodate these youth in case they get pregnant, in case they come to their doorstep for even counseling or education. I know National Population Council also established a unit on adolescent reproductive health, of which they adopted peer education system, where they identify some youth. To them, the youth have easy way of approaching their fellow youth or adolescents. So it was a program they created and they instituted for them to carry out through digital system. And you know, we have a lot of NGOs in the country that are also targeting adolescent reproductive issues.
Okay.
So they are also, in fact, when we did a dissemination, we ensured that most of these bodies are present. UNFPA, in fact, when you get to the international level, UNFPA, UNICEF, WHO are all interested in adolescent health related issues. So they also pick it up every day. They help the government agencies to develop strategies to intervene. And of course, it calls for the cooperation of those of you in the media. We need to make noise about it, and we can reach out to the general public through the media system, social media and other things. Even though the social media can be used to educate, it is also another tool or media to get these kids more curious.
Oh, okay.
Because now people can see things about sex, sexual encounter through what? Either sharing with friends through the WhatsApp. You can get it from
Sometimes
the
it pops up on your feed
yeah,
and all that.
and some even pops up and so on and so forth. So even though it's there to help educate, it's also another way of transmitting some of these things, societal issues. I would say society frown on that, but it's also another way of reaching out to the masses. There is one thing that, as part of the education, I would say we should focus on. You know, most of these districts, we didn't do the research to pin on that, but you could see that most of these districts that the girls get involved in early sex or multiple partners are in districts where galamsey activities are also taking place. I'm not putting my finger on it that
so
it
what's
could be
the link between this and then galamsey?
I don't know, but you know, galamsey is an activity usually engaged in by a lot of males. Okay. So we could see that areas that this activity is rampant, there are more males than females. In some cases, the women or the females also migrate from other areas too, but those in the locality, you realize that the number of men overcome that of the women. And if galamsey activities are ongoing and they get money, I didn't go there with my wife or my girlfriend.
Okay.
I have money. I can buy food to eat. I can buy drinks to enjoy myself, to have fun. The next thing is what? Woman.
Okay.
So the pressure will also be on these young girls. So if as parents, we don't pay attention to what our children, our girl child gets involved in. If in the evening your girl child is outside whilst you are sleeping,
okay,
so many people can easily entice that person.
So just as you mentioned, there are schools and these young girls and boys who decide not to go to school. Okay.
Not that they would decide not to go to school.
Okay. But
now we have a lot of JSS will definitely be day school. And we also have SSS that they have
day
boarding. Boarding can be controlled to some extent, but what about a situation where they vacate? But there is one good thing about the findings. We got to know that girls or the adolescents in the economically sound households are less likely to get involved in this. If I say so, if I say economically sound, like if you use the word quintals, you see that those from poor homes are more likely to get involved in that behavior. It tells you that.
So you are saying that poverty is one of the reasons?
One can say that poverty is a key.
Okay.
Then we also realize that education of the girl is a factor. Girls with relatively higher education are less likely to be exposed to that compared to those with low education. The other one is controversial, but if you run regression if you run regression, that is one of the indicators. Households where heads are females, the girls in such households are more likely to get involved in that. Okay. I can explain further by saying that in Ghana we've realized most households with female as heads, you could see that
where the father figure is not there.
Exactly.
Okay.
Or single parenthood. Mother is always chasing money, struggling to make money for survivorship. In some cases,
so she can be at the same place
yes,
at the same time.
In some cases, the girls also will say, let me go and find something to survive.
Okay.
More especially when it's relatively easier to make money. And we also realize that it's a situation in rural areas more than urban. So these are all parameters that can help.
So in all of this, where does Accra stand?
Accra cases are relatively low. Accra cases are relatively low.
If you can get us the figure in Accra.
With multiple sexual partners. Greater Accra, Greater Accra, Greater Accra. Greater Accra. Greater Accra is somewhere around 233.
Okay.
Ayawaso East. And the least is Crowell District. That's Crowell Municipal. That one is also in Greater Accra.
But despite the fact that you said Crowell is in the Nwa area,
yeah.
But Accra, if you walk on the streets today, look at the number of people you see on the streets.
We see a lot of people on the streets.
So
we are talking about young girls in the age bracket 16 to 19. I think earlier on I said this is something cutting across all the districts in the country. But we have districts that have higher cases compared to those in lower cases. Okay, so it doesn't mean that it's not happening in Accra. It's happening everywhere in Accra. But comparing Accra cases to other districts, that of Accra is low. Yeah.
Maybe we are doing something right.
Well,
it's because we are always busy. We're always on the run.
Yeah,
looking for money, chasing money.
But again, we need to educate the kids.
Okay.
Or they can do it, but they should grow up. They should see themselves as grown-ups before they get themselves. Definitely, as you grow, even men will put pressure on you to get there. But know when you are going to do it. You should be matured enough to take decisions on your own. You don't allow yourself to be enticed or forced into it. The forcing aspect comes in when they expose themselves to so many risk factors. Okay.
Okay. Now, let's look at the recommendations. You do this survey, and what are the recommendations that you put across after this?
Usually we give the recommendations to the policymakers. But if you ask me, what should we do?
What should we do? Okay.
Definitely we need to educate the general public about this.
So wait.
If I say educate.
You give this to the policymakers.
Yeah.
And it ends there.
There is one thing, you know, I mentioned some institutions that are responsible for these adolescents.
Okay.
It is their responsibility. They can get money from government or any support, that's donor agencies, to ensure that they implement this or they put in interventions. Statistical service is not our work to go to the public to go and say that this is what we've seen, so let's put in measures to stop. And it's not just one day measure. It's a continuous process. So the other time that when we released this, I said it generally that if the policymakers and the department agencies and ministries concerned take this data, they can work throughout the year. Because changing the mind of somebody from something bad to good, it requires a lot of things. Counseling. We should target the students. We should target our churches. We should target our mosque. We should target even communities where we think these things are rampant. Educate them, let them know the consequences, the implications of getting yourself into this.
Okay.
So it calls for comprehensive strategies and interventions to lower it. Yeah.
So those of us in the media, we want to hold government accountable, we want to hold policymakers accountable, agencies accountable. What are some of the interventions that you have brought out so far, and the recommendations you have brought out so far, and if these recommendations actually got to where you wanted it to be? If you can mention a few.
I remember somewhere along the line I mentioned something National Population Council is doing, using the peer to educate their colleagues. I know the National Youth Authority also has representatives in all the districts on youth programs. About 3 years ago, in their annual conference, I had the opportunity to go and make a presentation to the district coordinators in collaboration with, I think they did it in collaboration with PPAG. Yeah. And
Planned Parenthood Association of Ghana.
Exactly. And one observation I made was they are also targeting the youth to ensure that they lead a moral life. They get them jobs to do. They create avenues. They encourage them to pursue further studies. And I must be honest with you, education is key. Because if you go to school, if you go through this educational levels, get to a certain level, you get to know the bad things about this, the good things about that. Some get into this out of what? Ignorance. And by the time they realize they are pregnant, or they have contracted some sexually transmitted infection that they never thought they could contract out of that. So it's something that, as I initially said, calls for a comprehensive and robust approach. It requires the support of everybody, including you and me.
All right. Thank you so much, sir, for this insightful interview. I think that those of us where we sit today will get to understand where you are coming from as an agency and then what you do. And so thank you so much. God bless you for your time. But we've been speaking with Dr. Peter 𝗟𝗓𝗓, who is the Director of Standards and Methods at the Ghana Statistical Service. We've been talking on the demographic and health survey. We weighed down in on the findings on the adolescent risky behaviors, what contributes to adolescents getting pregnant, and all the other vices that you can think about. This has been The State. Thank you so much for joining us on the very last day of the month. We hope that we are going to see you in the coming days. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thank you.